Welcome back. It's a brand new episode of Pop Kannon. This is episode 69.
Nice.
Oh, nice. I didn't know
We're your hosts. My name is Jordan.
My name is Robert.
And I am Joe.
Today we are discussing the long-awaited Spider-Man No Way Home.
You might have heard of it. It's a little indie flick.
So Spider-Man No Way Home hit theaters this past weekend. For us, it's been about 48 hours since my last viewing of it. Robert, it's been about 24 hours since your showing.
Yep.
And Joe, I know you've seen it twice.
Good for you,
Yeah.
Joe.
So why don't you lead us off with your thoughts from someone who's seen it more than once?
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man No Way Home was like my little boy wish list came to life. Like something I never thought would actually happen. As a fan, it was the most fun I've had in a Marvel movie probably since like Avengers Endgame in terms of just like fan excitement. I have like a couple nitpicks about it here and there, but overall, I think I was just like really blown away by what was accomplished. That's all I'll say for now. Yezi is the person who saw it most recently, but less frequently. Let me know what you think.
I think both of you guys, after you had watched it, had texted and said, I'm just kind of still taking it in before you said whether it was good or not.
Yeah.
And like, upon credits rolling, I do believe I agree with having to take a minute. Because, like, we cover a lot of ground in this movie, dude. And as I get further away from the viewing of it, I've gone from saying it was really good to saying it was great. Because the more time specific moments stay in my head, I realize how many there were in this. And it just, I feel like far surpasses previous Spider-Man MCU installments. And maybe surpasses previous Spider-Man iterations. But the respect that it pays to them, even when it kind of is degrading them in a way. But yeah, I think it did a really good job. And then Jordan's the last one to share his thoughts.
So as you guys know, I haven't been the biggest fan of Tom Holland's Spider-Man and the way that they've treated him in his solo outings. I think he's a great actor. I really like him as Spider-Man. But he hasn't done anything in those two films, Homecoming and Far From Home, that have truly blown me away until now. And I could confidently say, after having about 2 days of time between seeing this, that I think this might be my favorite live-action Spider-Man film. And I think that's mostly because of the fan service given. But that fan service meant something, and it was done in a way that didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like, oh yeah, this is stealing all of the momentum away from what we're currently doing just to get a pop in the theater.
Yeah.
I had a fantastic time, despite that first act really dragging a little bit, because it felt like I've seen it all within the trailers. But after that,
yeah,
we did not stop after that.
It's hard to even think about in what way you would break down the acts in this movie, because there's, up until the bridge scene, it's like its own short film with friends that are just having problem getting into school, you know? And then like the next third is batshit insanity. And then that last third is probably the most ambitious corporate crossover that's ever happened on film. So like, I mean, it's really fucking weird.
Is it a corporate crossover if you own all of them?
I would say it's a corporate crossover because of Sony's rights.
Yeah, but it's still a Sony movie.
Right, but it's also a Marvel Studios movie, which encapsulates the crossover. Because it's only good because it's a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Because Sony on their own would not have the deft hand to pull the thread through this. Yeah. They would not. It would fucking fall flat on its face. Yeah, I don't think that they have the capability of it. It needed the MCU's touch and zhuzh to stand the way that it does.
Yeah. But I will say this film really does feel like the third act
Yes.
of a 3-part origin story for him.
Yeah.
It does. It
That's what I
really
was going to
does.
say, yeah.
And so like recently I heard someone say that MCU Peter is built for long form storytelling, and it's not what I've been thinking of, like, oh, well, this is just like part of his contract. This is just, he's only on for 3 movies, and then they're
Right.
like, whatever, they're going to reboot it again. Like, I'm waiting to see Uncle Ben die again.
Yeah.
And because you know they're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when. So I'm watching the first 2 films like, oh, well, he's only got one more. He's still not the
Yeah,
Peter I want to
Spider-Man.
see on screen.
Yeah.
You know, he's still not the Spider-Man I want. And I feel like we got it.
Yeah.
We got it in this movie. We got that emotional depth.
He at least became that in this movie. He like stepped up to all of those plates that had been set up for him.
Yeah.
And actually delivered on all of those quintessential flagpole Spider-Man things.
On Friday, I watched Far From Home before I went on Saturday to see this. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I've never seen this Peter get angry. And, like, I know that, like, that's, like, a big thing of Peter Parker for me is, like, he goes through all this shit and, like, he definitely gets, like, angsty. And I've seen Tom Holland get, like, frustrated, definitely. Like, the end of Far From Home he does. But I never really saw him get angry, and then they just took him completely past his breaking point in this one. It felt awful to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It was uncomfortable.
Got him angry.
And like, I don't know that the weight that we feel for him is there without having gone through those first 2 movies and having all of those kind of expectations set on him, and he's delivering on all of them, and it's fine. But it's like, once we ratcheted it up here, it was like crazy to see how he put all of those things together and actually became Spider-Man.
Yeah. That scene in like the high school lab felt important to me because it was him realizing that like he can do all these things as Peter Parker. Like he doesn't need the Stark tech. He doesn't need any of like the Avengers or anything. Like Peter Parker, Spider-Man can accomplish just as much with very little.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's essentially what they did. They stripped all that away from him.
Yeah. He has nothing. He has absolutely nothing.
Like, there's so much to get through because so much happens. Robert even said so much happens. So this conversation, I feel like, is just going to flow. Like, there's no structure. We're just bullshitting about this movie.
Yeah.
Just like No Way Home.
Yeah, like, legitimately. It's crazy to me. The first what the fuck moment that I had was seeing Matt Murdock catch a brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt-
All I could do is scream.
Just his existence in the chair forced me to throw my hands up like I was on a roller coaster. And he had the glasses on. He caught the brick. And then the reason that he was able to catch the brick was because he's a really good lawyer.
Yeah, Peter's
Loved it.
reaction in that moment is like so good of just like, because he's got his hand out too.
Yeah.
And he was gonna catch it, but Matt got there first.
Yeah. He's a
Love
really
that.
good lawyer. My crowd audibly like cheered,
Oh, yeah.
and I started it. I started the cheer because I was just so happy. Like, even though we were promised that by Kevin Feige already, like a couple weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw that leak, so I already knew it was there, but
Yeah, but like,
It
you
was
know,
still
but
fun
you
to see.
didn't
Yeah.
obviously know. Like,
Yeah.
until it appeared on screen in front of you during this viewing,
yeah.
it didn't mean anything. So seeing him on screen meant everything to me. I love that they're keeping him. I love what they're doing with Hawkeye currently, and we'll talk about all that in another episode. But setting the stage here early on, that was like the first 10 minutes of the movie he shows up, and it's like fantastic.
Yeah. It was a weird little like candy pop of like, here you go. I say this knowing that like I'm very happy with everything we got after that point, but like there's still a part of me that would have wanted more of like Matt Murdock and like maybe like a trial scene and everything. But like, just for the sake of like everything else that happens in this, I guess it's really just to be like, he's here. Shut up about it.
Yeah.
And somebody pointed out online the fun fact that it's Jon Favreau sitting next to him, and like he played Foggy in the Ben Affleck movie.
Oh shit, that's right.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That's
And
cool.
plus, Jon Favreau is just like a big Marvel nerd, so like he was probably just like a kid in a candy store there too.
Yeah,
But
that's funny.
Happy was good in this movie.
Yeah,
Happy
'Cause
was probably the best he's been since the Iron Man.
Since Iron Man,
movies.
yeah,
Yeah.
like he really stole the show for his scenes, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I thought he was really good. I think they use him effectively all the time. And like the more that we've gotten to see him, the more they kind of like in the little bits that we get with him kind of flesh him out a little bit more and a little bit more. No, yeah, I think he was great in this. I very much enjoyed all of the Happy scenes, including the one that was not so happy with Happy at the end.
One of the things I was upset about was like his relationship with Happy no longer existing. Like that made me sad for Peter. I really grew to like enjoy their back and forth, especially with rewatching Homecoming and Far From Home. Like I grew to really appreciate that relationship that they had, and for Peter to sacrifice that and give that up on top of everything else.
There's a lot.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
It was like
And
his
I like-
uncle.
Yeah, I like that like continued after Endgame too, when like Happy doesn't really have any more like obligation to like stay with Peter, but he does.
Yeah.
And you could say like, oh, it's just because of Aunt May or whatever, but I think like he genuinely does care
About Peter too.
Or he
Yeah.
did. It's fun the way that the world forgets Peter Parker, the way that kind of rewrites the history in a way. That conversation with Happy really revealed, to like clear it up, that like they don't forget Spider-Man. So like
Right.
the Avengers still worked with Spider-Man, they just don't know who he is,
Yeah.
which is wild.
Spider-Man's still a thing. And I was also driven home with the Jameson like news moment.
Right. I do miss seeing Jonah as a character, and I hope that like in another movie he can maybe be more like involved in the story instead of like an ancillary just figure.
Yeah.
An ancillary exposition machine.
Yeah.
But I really like that he's a caricature in this.
Oh yeah.
Rather than a character. I think that the people that he's lampooning, satirizing, are the type of people that would also hate Spider-Man. So I think it's fair.
It's wild that like he's like less of like a damaging caricature than the people he's caricaturing. Like he's just like, I hate this one guy, and they're like, overthrow the government. It's like, oh.
I was happy with that ending of the film. I was so satisfied. I felt like that's the way to end a Spider-Man movie.
I thought he was going to say it to her. I thought he was going to say I love you to her. I really
She'd be
did.
like, okay.
even for her, just for the awkward reaction to play for the laugh, but they fucking didn't. They didn't. And I was like, wow. And then Peter goes into that apartment and he's all alone. And I was like, he might want to pick up a camera and start taking pictures for money, because he's going to need it. You know what I mean? Like they really set him in a place where he is now.
Yeah.
Adult.
He needs to get his friggin' GED.
Yeah.
Because he didn't even finish high school.
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, holy shit, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? That's nuts to even think about, that Peter Parker doesn't have his
Which
fucking.
I guess makes sense, because if you're grounding a character, you need to like trap them.
Yeah.
And if they if Peter graduates high school, he could still make something of himself.
Yeah.
But it's going to be much harder now that he has to get a GED. It's a way to make that character scratch and claw more, which I appreciate.
And he had like 2 boxes of stuff.
Yeah. And I also think too, with the whole MJ scenario, is he will say I love you, but it's when she's going to like remember him. He's going to try to like get her to remember him, and that is going to be a moment.
I I didn't think that. I thought that was his way of just being like, okay, we're just gonna have this is it. Because if he wanted to, he could have continued
For
to
now,
talk to her.
So
I just think for now,
at least for the next 4 years, Ned and MJ are going to Boston, so they're
right.
gone.
So I'm going to be there. Yeah,
I think they will come back in like maybe after this movie, the next movie. But I'm interested to see if they introduce like more of like Spider-Man's supporting cast, like whether we get like an MCU Gwen Stacy or any of the like hundreds of people that have been in Spider-Man books over the years. Besides MJ, who we've gotten, and well, we didn't get it in Amazing, even though we were about to. But
I was thinking too. Does Peter seek out or try to like research these people that didn't become villains in his universe to just make sure? Like, does he look up a Norman Osborn just to see if there is one? Because I mean, now he knows all of the shit. Like he could double check just to make sure that there's not an Otto Octavius rolling around somewhere.
Yeah, but it's like it's weird to think that there would be like a Norman Osborn without an Oscorp.
Right.
You know, unless he was like bought out by Stark or something at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, it's another Iron Man villain instead.
Stark never leaves.
No.
Never leaves. Or AIM or whatever the hell. I think that this movie was the most Peter Parker we've gotten. Especially like the drive of that first act being like, I'm causing these problems for the people around me and I need to fix it for them. And that moment of like, wait, this isn't about me. And she's just like, shut up. Yeah. And then that decision at the very end is like, he's not going to actually tell them because in Peter Parker's mind, they're better off without me.
Yep.
So let him go. Without thinking like, I'm worse off without anyone.
Yeah. He'll make do because he has to, but they're better off without me.
Yeah. But May dying, I think, is the factor there that he couldn't get past, and that's why he really decided to let them go.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get Uncle Ben dying, and we don't even know if there ever was an Uncle Ben. We just know that he had an Aunt May. But yeah, I mean, her scene was crazy.
Yeah, that was really emotional.
Because the fake out is what really makes it so effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she got hit by that glider, and I was like, how's that bitch standing up? That doesn't make sense to me. But the fake out worked to a degree on me, but then I was like, no, there's no way she's making it out of this right now.
Yeah.
I was upset that he didn't try to do any first aid.
I was like, just web her up. Like, take her somewhere.
Close it.
Just like, yeah.
The emotion there was great. So.
And drop her off somewhere. But I don't know. It was an emotional scene. Really effective. Friggin' Marissa Tomei was incredible in this movie. And now I think retroactively I'm going to go back and view all of her moments in the MCU completely differently, knowing where that character goes.
Yeah, because she was just like so insistent in this on delivering that message to him and just really driving it home that we have to do for them because we can. And just like, it was really heavy. And she was so good. She was so good. And like him taking her advice and him heeding what she was saying was actually like really impressive to me because he was able to put it into play like immediately, which is not something that normally happens, especially in these movies. I thought it was cool that she worked for Feast.
Yeah, it was a fun little video game plug.
Fucking really like that. I was
There's
like,
Feast in the comics? I don't know.
I think it's in the
Probably.
comics.
Yeah.
But it's just cool that like that's what she does. You know what I mean? Like we find out what May does, and it's volunteer down there at school or run it, I guess, whatever
she
does.
basically kind of runs it. That's the impression that I got anyway.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because she's absolutely the type of person to like go all the way in on like helping people. And it makes sense that Peter would want to try. Yeah. It makes sense that Peter would want to try to emulate that.
And the way they like use that to thread Norman in as the main villain in the end.
Yeah.
It was just fucking nuts.
So here's a question that I have for you guys. Because I wasn't totally sure on it from my first viewing of it, but do you think that Norman was just gone the entire time and he was just the goblin from the jump?
No, I think that was legit after he smashes the mask up until I think like walking in and seeing like Otto and like being exposed to all the stuff kind of just like re-triggered it, but also like the goblin's always there.
Yeah.
There's a moment he responds to a question or something, and as soon as he spoke, I was like, shit.
The way they framed him in the shot composition changed. The camera, I don't know if you guys noticed that, it like dollied around him. It looked really cool, and it was really effective. And I think they did that thing that they did in the Sam Raimi movie where he, as Norman Osborn, is wearing this like fake upper set of teeth that look like perfect. And then when he's the goblin, they use his like normal teeth that are like his own teeth.
That's interesting.
So they're not perfect, obviously, but
I didn't notice
I think they did that again. So it just gives that little bit of oomph to the, it's a different person now.
Yeah.
And Goblin was like way more terrifying than he ever was in the first Raimi movie. Like when they're fighting in the hallway and he's on top of him punching him and he's just taking it. Like that really like conveyed that like Goblin and Spider-Man are on the same strength level in a way that like I don't think I ever really felt in the first Spider-Man.
It brings to question the serum that he takes in the first movie, how that composition transitions into this universe and what that means biologically for him, because things can change and things are a little bit different. It was more equivalent. It's closer to the super soldier serum than whatever they explained it as in his film. Like, and that's why he was kind of able to do all those things. Cause I just think that like the science of it would be interesting to try to like explain, like those things aren't the same from there as they are here, but when they're here, they're this. And that's why you're reacting the way that you are to certain things.
Yeah. I don't necessarily know if it was that. I just think they were able to lean into the brutality of that character way more now than they were in 2001.
Yeah.
But tonally, these movies are totally different.
Yeah. And that's like, it's one of my favorite things about almost all of those villains. I feel like, especially the two Raimi villains that are in it, not discrediting Sandman, but he wasn't on the same level of like over drama as they were, because Otto, everything that he said was like a line or like a phrase of some kind. Like everything was like acting. He's portraying something or whatever. Like,
but that's very much like how Otto ought to be written, though. Like he's so
over the top,
present and pretentious and over the top.
But like, and then you have Goblin acting like way more intense as well. And I think that was a way of like playing with the tone of that movie, of those previous films, into this, and like how the drama in those movies is different because the audience has a different expectation level for what stories are now. So back then you could get away with a cartoony, almost campy by comparison tone, where when you place it into these movies, it comes across the way Otto came across, which was like, this guy is a lot, dude.
What's your name? Otto Octavius.
They just start fucking laughing. It's so fucking funny.
Yeah, but the tone from the Sam Raimi movies does carry over with Tobey Maguire a little bit too, I think. And I loved that about that, because he felt like that Spider-Man still. Like,
definitely more so than Andrew did. Andrew didn't really feel like the same character that he brought in his movies.
I was getting there.
Sorry.
No. That's good, because my point is like Tobey Maguire felt like a continuation, whereas Andrew Garfield felt more like he was given more. They like gave him a bigger piece of meat to chew on, and like really got to sink his teeth into this character and become Peter Parker again, and see like what we could have gotten.
It sounded like they actually looked at Andrew and they were like, have fun for once.
Dude, he was fantastic, and I loved him as Spider-Man. In his movies, I think he's great, and he was my favorite live action Spider-Man, I think, for like a hot second when those movies came out. But like both of them in this movie, like, fucking incredible that we even got it, first of all. But Andrew Garfield stood head and shoulders above Tobey Maguire for me in this movie.
Performance-wise, I think so. Tobey came across as like a little weird.
He seemed very flat.
He always was kind of weird, though. It was kind of just like they told you to like him, so you did.
I just felt like, how can he be as old as he is and still be that awkward? I felt like at some point it had to like go, like somebody says something to him and I feel like there's a really long pause before he responds, and then he doesn't even say anything. He just goes like, and I was like, what the fuck is he doing? He gets the opportunity to be Spider-Man again, and this is what he's doing? What the fuck?
Well, because he's playing a Peter who's like
over
through it all. Yeah. Weird shit happens to him every fucking day for the past 30 years. So he's just like, yeah, this might as well happen. You're me, right? Okay, come on. What are we doing?
Do you need help? Did I bring my suit?
Well, sure, of course.
So
I've been
goofy.
taking this off in years.
I did like how they shared their significant other stories. And I liked that they gave Toby like the time to get through explaining what happened with him and MJ, and like seeming like it was bad, and then going like, oh no, we worked it out. And Andrew Garfield's like, oh well, that's awesome, great. You buried the lead on that one.
Yeah, despite the fan service, I still think both of them brought what they needed to bring to this role, because Joe, like you said, Tobey Maguire brought that like old seasoned Peter, and then we got kind of like this burned, closed off from the world Peter from Andrew Garfield. So like Tom Holland is looking at these two going like, they've been through it. They know the whole conversation that they have about the Uncle Ben thing, and then the Gwen and losing May. It's like, what a movie and what a moment that they were able to bring to this screen.
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy that so much care was given to what we have seen previously, you know?
Yeah.
Like they really didn't gloss over much of what those stories were. So now like when you watch them, if you do like a Spider-Man watch through.
Oh, I did them. I did that.
Wait, oh God, does that have to be included in an MCU watch through now?
No, I don't. Personally, I don't think so. But if you're doing a Spider-Man watch through and you get like even including Into the Spider-Verse to then get to this movie, you get so rewarded for your loyalty to having watched 6 other films. Like you get so rewarded for that. And I think that's amazing.
It definitely felt like an end game for Spider-Man. Just like a celebration of like all the live action Spider-Men that have been in Sony.
And I had like been projecting previous to the film that like I hope that the Andrew Garfield, if they were both to be in it, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man would sacrifice himself, and then we'd get one more Old Man Logan style Spider-Man movie with Tobey. But I don't think it's actually needed now because they kind of covered a lot of that ground in this, and I think we're all right.
Brings up the question, why did they stab Tobey?
I was thinking
if he was going to be fine anyway, what was the point of stabbing?
He heals real fast.
He said, I've been stabbed a whole bunch of times. The most casual any person has ever discussed how many times they've been stabbed in the history of people discussing how many times they've been stabbed. Oh yeah, I mean, I get stabbed fucking, what is it, Tuesday?
Yeah.
And I'm just over here thinking, like, why didn't Goblin go for a kill shot? Why didn't he stab him in the throat?
What if he shot me in the face?
That was a risk we were willing to take.
I guess it is like a comment on like the strength of Spider-Man, because like Tom takes a fucking 2 bullets to the shoulder, and then he's fine an hour later. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, also, he kind of stood on top of Goblin and pounded the ever-loving shit out of him, and Goblin
just took it. Yeah.
didn't have a lot to show for all of this, like, puny little kids punching him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, back to Joe's point about, like, his power level, basically, like, being different from the movies. When he powerbombed Spider-Man through the floor,
it didn't really make sense, but I liked it.
I was like, what kind of goblin are we getting?
He's a ground and pound goblin? I've never seen this before.
How much does he weigh?
But it was so cool to see how physically strong and intimidating that character was portrayed in this film. It was so cool. We got like the purple hood from the torn hoodie, and it's the goblin armor underneath. Like all of that looked visually stunning.
Because he was wearing his costume underneath his clothes too. He learned from the best.
Well, he wasn't wearing anything under the costume, so he had to keep it on.
Basically, I was like, I like that they like made Goblin for this like out of the hobo clothes that he was wearing. I thought that was really fucking cool.
Yeah. So
it is funny how cool he ends up looking versus that. But
now another villain that we haven't mentioned yet, who I think looks visually interesting, is Electro. Jamie Foxx is back.
Yeah.
With a makeover.
With a makeover.
Because when you pass through,
you get hot.
Some things change.
You lose your lisp.
I will say I did not like the fact that they were just like, oh yeah, he's different because he's just here now, and that's why he looks different. It felt like a lazy excuse.
He did have to rebuild his body because he was just pure energy when he got there.
It's true. So he made himself look like, you know, you would fix some things, you know what I mean? I would fix some things. Joe doesn't have to fix anything, but we would fix things.
We would definitely fix things. Joe wouldn't have to fix anything. You're beautiful, baby. Anyway.
I'd probably have a tail.
You would add a tail? Is that what you just said?
Yeah. I mean, if I can.
But I guess, I don't know. I guess if I think about, like, he had to rebuild his body, but it's just like, why didn't he rebuild his body that way like a minute ago?
He didn't know he could. I don't know. All
right.
Look,
regardless.
Speaking as somebody who hated Electro in Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was fine with it.
Yeah.
I was much more attached to Jamie Foxx in this movie than I was in that one. And he had some great moments. He had some awesome moments in this.
He did.
I agree.
They make you they make you okay with it because you're just like, well, I mean, I really didn't like what he did the last time. so I accept this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't make sense on its face.
He's another guy who got to essentially like
redeem himself.
Rebrand himself as that character.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool.
When that arc reactor first pops out of that box that Happy has, I was like, oh no. Because, you know, like you see it, like as soon as it comes out, he's like,
yeah.
That's the only thing that like I buy when he's like, the power feels different here. Because like when he's like first like just like in the woods, like sucking on an electric pole, like it's just electricity. How is it different? But okay.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was very weird. But like the idea of Electro with an arc reactor.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty to be done in the comic sphere with that character and that idea, I feel like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Electro and Doc Ock, like Raimi Doc Ock anyway. Like both of them with that technology is just like a really weird thing to comprehend.
Yeah, because then Doc Ock says it again. He's like the power of the sun in the palm of my hand, like literally, dude. Like fucking
Yeah.
Like we make cell phones out of this shit.
If he only fucking knew what Tony Stark did with that fucking thing.
Imagine what Otto Octavius would do if given an Infinity Stone.
Oh shit.
He'd be like, this is bullshit. This doesn't make any fucking sense.
The power of this stone in the palm of my hand.
Dude, I really did like how they kept mentioning magic's real here.
Yeah.
Like, because they didn't have, like, all of their shit had to be explained in some fucking cockamamie
Science way. Yeah.
Like when, when Andrew Garfield's explaining how Max got his powers, and he's like, oh, he fell into a vat of electric eels. And Tobey Maguire's just like, that'll do it. Lost my shit. Completely lost. I was the only person in the theater that laughed.
It's also interesting thinking about like the sci-fi of this world versus their worlds. Like that like fabricator and all the like little arms putting stuff together versus like thinking of like Doc Ock's like very like clunky industrial looking sci-fi stuff, and then everything in Andrew's universe was very like biochem kind of based. Like everything was like mixed and made in labs and stuff.
Yeah.
This
That's
is like
cool.
a very like engineer world that they're in MCU. But
I like that. Oh my God. There's like different science is in the science fiction.
and part of that's just like based on like, time for us. Like in the early 2000s, like we weren't thinking about like nanobots. So
No.
Yeah.
But as soon as the nanobots get onto the fucking
Tentacle.
the tentacles, dude, so fucking cool, because they immediately take to every technology, which I just love. And then it just immediately overrides his system like instantly without any fucking inconvenience whatsoever.
yeah.
I thought that was a fantastic way to end their fight on that bridge, because I wasn't ready for it. It just happened, and I was
Spider-Man fucking hacked
that
him.
would make sense.
Yeah.
I was like, that would make sense.
Spider-Man accidentally hacked him. It was amazing.
And then Peter's cocky about it, which I also love,
Yeah.
because like Joe said before, he didn't really get a chance to see like Peter angry. I don't feel like we had a lot of time to see like super sarcastic Spider-Man in the MCU. And we kind of got that here.
Well, he's been 100% vulnerable all of the time, and in that moment he knew he was in control, so he was like,
What's up, bro?
And then to have like the story function to just take the nanosuit off the table then for the rest of the movie was
because that big chunk was missing, which I fucking thought was so funny, that he had the whole thing and then like you see his tie.
Yeah. And then you could never like, he couldn't take them back because of Doc Ock, and he couldn't walk around with half a suit. So
Yeah. So he had to go back and get his suit cleaned and all that shit.
it was so, all those trailers showed us that fucking black suit, and he just turned it inside out. I was like, what the fuck?
Dude, right? And I'm like, because I'm looking at it, I'm seeing the wires, and Cheyenne leans over to me. She goes, "That's inside out." And I was like, oh, come on.
Oh,
They
I
made a
knew it
Marvel
as soon
Legends
as he
figure
was,
of
like,
that.
As soon as he's scrubbing it and he turns it, he goes, oh, that kind of works. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
It's just to make toys, bro. Just to make toys.
Honestly, oh man. There was a specific moment that I was like, that needs to be a figure. Oh, happy with the CPAP. That was it. I said
That needs to be a figure.
I think
A Build-A-Fig?
happy with the CPAP needs to be a fucking Funko figure.
That's the Chase version.
Oh my god.
Because it's the
CPAP
normal
happy.
one and then CPAP happy.
CPAP happy.
like a full in the chair and everything with the recline.
Like
'Cause
a
when
movie
they cut over to
moment.
him, I fucking started laughing so hard. That was amazing. And he's like, "Say goodbye." Like, let's go. And it's just funny to me specifically because my grandfather used to have a CPAP machine on when he slept, and if I were in the same room as him, I always thought he was asleep when he was on it, and he like never was. So the
I
fact
can't
that Happy
imagine
was
you
awake,
would get any sleep if you had to wear those.
exactly.
Yeah.
But the fact that happened made me like, I fucking lived that like so many times.
We haven't talked about Doctor Strange at all yet. I like the fact that he was only in it for a little bit at the beginning and then a little bit at the end, because it was a fucking Spider-Man movie and we don't need 17,000 MCU characters showing up.
Yeah, all told, this movie was nothing what I, in my head, had imagined would be happening. You know what I mean? Like, everything that happened was not where I thought it was going to be. So the fact that Doctor Strange was not around for the whole film was like a welcome surprise. So like when you get to him at the end, I was like, oh shit, he's back. Okay, cool. He's gonna clean this the fuck up, bro.
Peter used physics and geometry in his fight with him, and I thought that was brilliant.
That was a lot of fun.
He goes, it's just math. That was great because it leans into part of the character that has been talked about but not much seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this, it's like, to me, that's the equivalent of like getting a Batman that does detective work.
Yeah.
You know, like Peter doing fucking math and science is kind of like part of the brand, and we kind of gloss over that all of the time. So that the fact that so many things happen in this where he's utilizing math and science and all of that shit is like, it's fantastic.
It also leans into like the like rules of the universe where like magic's not like necessarily all just like bullshit here. Like even from the first Thor, they said that like magic is just like science, but a different name for it. And that like even they haven't said it in this iteration yet, but I think in Ultimate Marvel, like Wanda's magic is more about affecting probabilities than it's actually like about changing anything.
Interesting.
Which is just like, I don't know. It's fun to think about that. Like, on some level, there's rules to things, but also sometimes you just wave your hand and a circle appears in the
air. He's got magic in his family, dude.
I had a hard time buying that Ned would just be able to open up a portal with a sling ring. When Doctor Strange is just like hanging out on like a mountaintop for months doing this, and Ned could just do it. But I do appreciate the joke of he's got magic in his family, and then his grandmother makes a comment to him about it.
About the magic. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess to me, it kind of just possibly, because I don't know what they're going to do with the no memory of Spider-Man thing, because obviously he's not going to remember that happened. But if they were to somehow regain his memory of Spider-Man, or however they explain it, there's like a future for him possibly in the hero sphere as like at least working in or studying under Wong, you know, like because Doctor Strange even like does like, you did that? And he was like, yeah. And he goes, huh.
There's the Hobgoblin thing hanging over him all the time, which
they mentioned it here, and
punch it in the face here.
Loved it.
Yeah.
I loved what they did with that. He walks right up to Peter. He's like, Peter, I promise I will never go crazy and try to murder you.
Yeah.
And totally fucking Andrew Garfield just tapping him on the shoulder like, good on you, pal.
Totally, absolutely has to happen now.
But like they did the thing where they like lingered on that green cape on his grandma's sewing machine, which is like a sort of a Hobgoblin reference. There's all this shit with like his best friend betraying him. And then I'm pretty sure Hobgoblin does fuck around with magic in the comics too. So
it'd be amazing.
And I know that Jacob Batalon, he's mentioned like really wanting to do Hobgoblin before. Which, like, I do want, like, I promise you, Peter, but, like, he doesn't remember Peter anymore. So what's stopping him from going down that path now?
Yeah.
Because he wants to stop Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Totally not about Peter. You know what I mean? Like, I love it.
So now I'm curious what Spider-Man is going to cause that will set Ned on that path. Because it's got to be a Spider-Man thing. And then Peter's got to like Winter Soldier it and be like,
I'm with you to the end of the line, Ned.
I'm with you till the end of the line. But
they start like fighting, but then accidentally do their handshake. It's like, what the fuck was that?
Another little moment that I loved in this movie, it was right at the beginning when he's back at school and he shows up and the teachers are there to greet him at the door. And fucking Hannibal Buress saying how he's a Mysterio sympathizer Like JB Smoove is like, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. And he's just like, Mysterio was right. You're a murderer.
Personally, for me, anything that JB Smoove is in becomes better because of his existence within it. Because he's just so fucking funny all of the time.
So funny.
But the fact that they got Hannibal to come back.
Yeah.
Just for that quick scene and then just shit all over Spider-Man for it is so on brand for Hannibal.
Well, even when he's watching the videos even when he's showing the videos, he's like, isn't this guy a war criminal?
Yeah.
Of Cap. Like he is firmly not on their side.
Yeah. He gives you
It's
a
so
realistic
perfect.
picture of a person having to live in that world.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Martin Starr like makes that display for
The
him.
whole thing.
And it's like
Me
photos
and
of
some
them
students worked on
together.
this for you. Me and the student worked on this for you. Man, you did it yourself. Well, we planned it. They planned it with me.
I'm glad they got to come back and have like a moment.
Yeah,
They got like
yeah.
a scene and it was fun.
Yeah. I'm definitely regretting not seeing more growth from Flash, but like I like the kind of like ancillary arc that you see him going through. He wants to be their friend legitimately, like especially after he finds out he's Spider-Man, but he's just like even though he's an asshole, like he doesn't really understand that like they don't like him. And like he's very like sincere when he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry," when he's leaving.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
like just like the fun thing with Flash in the comics is like seeing him like eventually get to mesh with the group and like still be Flash, but like kind of get past that. But yeah. I don't know that we're ever going to see Tony Revolori be Agent Venom or anything, but well, who knows? Maybe we should talk about that. So the
Let's
first
talk about it.
post-credits-
Dude, fucking mid-credit scene. Like, so I just recently watched the first Venom movie.
Okay.
Knowing the post-credit of the second film, which is where he sees Spider-Man swinging and licks the TV and says that he looks good,
Yeah.
to then get to this and have him trying to just understand all of the shit in the MCU's universe, like the whole thing, and then to just go away at the end. My personal opinion about that is because of the symbiote piece that's left behind. I think that it is one of the most brilliant crossover things that they've ever agreed upon and accomplished in that scene, because they used the the post credit from a previous basically Sony only film. Like that's their own universe.
Yeah.
They allowed Marvel to get like a trailer out of it, essentially, like a teaser, to then like honey dick the people that like Venom into going to this movie in hopes that he might show up in full force, to then get that sequence and then the possibility literally on the table of having Venom in the MCU in the way that you know and appreciate him. Could not believe that they pulled that off, because now Venom's comic book origins get retconned a little bit into the MCU's, like, to explain its existence there. So it's like it's always been an alien, but now it's literally an alien from another fucking universe. Like it's literally an alien from another universe, and we know that, and we could go see that alien if we fucking want to.
Yeah.
And I think that's brilliant.
That is fair to have it be like the kind of Secret Wars thing where it's just like, it's just this thing that I found.
Yeah.
It's literally just left there.
And I love that Peter has no idea.
No idea.
Yeah.
No, like was he around Tobey Maguire when he was talking about like, oh, I fought some alien black goo?
I don't think he was.
Yeah, he
I
was
think-
up on the head and he overheard it. Because then they
Okay.
go into the thing about the organic webs, and that's when he jumps in. Because then he talks about Thanos immediately after.
Okay.
Because he's like, oh yeah, I fought aliens, but not like whatever you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm just curious to know like if he would remember and recall that comment and
Probably
piece
not.
it together on what it is.
No.
Because you know he's finding that thing.
It's finding
Dude.
him.
and then that's even better because the symbiote already knows him and wanted to find him to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
And so my personal opinion on that, I think it's really interesting because it presents as if like Eddie and Venom like left that piece of the symbiote behind, and now it's trying to find Eddie. There's no Eddie. It's mad. It's confused. Well, let me just go to Spider-Man, and then it bonds with him, and that's how we can get like angry symbiote and like evil symbiote.
feeling like it was left behind.
Yeah.
So being upset about it.
Yeah.
So
like
wanting to take it
narratively,
out.
that's where they could go. Oh man. Or it could find an Eddie Brock in the MCU.
Right. But like, is it Tom Hardy? Do they go down that road?
They
Should they
should.
portray two completely different Venoms in two different universes?
I want to know if he's still going to voice it, even if it's like not on Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
'Cause he does the voice for Venom too.
Yeah.
That'd be very interesting if he did.
Yeah.
As long as he's not doing whatever accent he thinks he's doing for Eddie Brock.
That's true.
It works for Venom. It doesn't work for Eddie. But yeah, it was a very funny scene. It just made me mad because, yeah, they wrote that check and then they were like, just kidding. And there's no reason he should have come through.
In the first place, yeah.
Because he'd never even heard of Peter Parker or Spider-Man.
Right.
But
It's like, well, what the fuck is he doing there?
But I heard a theory today.
Okay.
The symbiote in that post-credit scene in Venom 2 says things about being from different universes and having knowledge of these different worlds and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
So, what if the symbiote is the same symbiote from Spider-Man 3 somehow,
Well, I really hope they don't do that.
but it had previous knowledge of who Spider-Man was?
Right. They're like a hive mind across the multiverse.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, maybe that
makes a little
explains how
more
he
sense,
gets
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that they didn't spoil his new suit at the end. Like, I'm glad that it wasn't in trailers or like wasn't on a Lego set, and it wasn't like
Yeah.
promoted as a Funko Pop or anything. Like, we just got it. We
Yeah.
got that moment because I mentioned back in our like episode about Spider-Man Far From Home, I was really upset that they spoiled that reveal of the red and black suit, like the advanced suit. This was an oh shit moment for me.
Yeah.
Seeing him in that bright blue and the red, like swinging through New York City in the snow, like what a picturesque scene.
Yeah. And also, you said that he was swinging through the city at the very beginning when he and MJ are trying to escape the mobs. There's a fucking Rogers the Musical marquee
Thing. Yeah.
I think, especially because this is like a week after Far From Home, I think it's like simultaneous to Hawkeye, and I think they're really just going to cram everything into like a very tight timeline until they catch up to where Endgame left them.
Okay.
So like I think like because we're still in 2023, you know, we the audience are in going into 2022.
Yeah.
So I think everything up until 2023 is gonna be
like,
crammed
really
together.
tight. I got you.
Until they can say it's real time again.
The trailer for Multiverse of Madness. I mean, the post-credit scene.
Yeah. I mean, that was
It wasn't a post credits. It was just a trailer.
It was
that
just
was a trailer. Yeah.
It was a cool
fun
trailer, though.
as fuck to see Wanda.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
And to see
For her.
all the what if Doctor Strange stuff coming into the live
Dude.
action universe.
Well, even when the sky fractures at the end of the movie,
Seeing
like
Kraven.
that big fucking purple rip that like, oh my God, that
Yeah.
the circular of his spell caused the rip in the fabric of
Yeah,
reality.
I can't wait till that like comes out so I can pause and like look at all of them.
Yeah.
Because the only ones I like recognized were like Kraven, Rhino, and Scorpion.
It was happening, and I realized it was happening, and I immediately was like, this is too much. I can't pay attention to how many. I'm going to try to look at everyone right now. There's no way.
The only one I picked up 100% was Rhino.
I saw
everything
Kraven.
else was like a blur.
I saw Kraven.
Because they focused on a few of them, but like it wasn't enough for me to be like, because it was too much of a silhouette for me to suss it out. But I definitely got Rhino because like fucking, I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
I appreciate this for the fact, like the meta reason that like it's not just a Spider-Verse movie, it's an ode to like all the live action Spider-Mans that were. So like, I do appreciate it for that.
Struck by it happening. It's just like the fact that they did it.
Yeah.
You know, like the gif of Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park, like, you crazy son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You did it. That's really what it felt like, because I got anti-spoilered on the movie. I saw a comic before I saw the film that was 4 panels, and it had something about Spider-Man spoilers or whatever. And then in the 4th frame, it said Toby and Andrew aren't in it. So I went into the movie going like, oh, I mean, this is probably still going to be fucking pretty awesome. I wonder how they're going to get around all these villains without putting the 2 of them in there. It just doesn't make any sense. And as the film's going on, I'm like, there's kind of no way that they're not in this, right? Like, it doesn't. we're building to a thing, like we need them for this film now, and then they fucking showed up, and I was like, how is the internet doing reverse spoilers? Holy shit!
I really like. I wonder if Marvel like put out like fake reverse spoilers, but like as soon as the portal opens and he turns around and you see those big eyes in the dark, I lost it.
I screamed.
Yeah.
I was like, Shane's like, what? And I was like,
it's Spider-Man, but it's not
and
the
then
Spider-Man
as he
you thought.
walked closer, she had the same reaction.
Yeah.
Because we had just done the whole Spider-Man rewatch.
One through, yeah.
We did 1, 2, and 3, and then we did 1 and 2, and then we did 1 and 2.
Nice.
And then we watched 3. So it was a good old time.
It was fun that they gave like the like scream moment to Andrew, and then they turn around, they're like, and now we do the reverential bow to Toby as he comes in very meekly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, not in costume.
The youth pastor.
Yeah. That was it.
They wanted everyone to know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, no, he's coming.
He's
as
here.
As soon as you see Andrew, the confirmation that Toby's coming is like,
right.
Yeah. And I'm cool with that. But I loved the way they introduced Andrew and made him like stick to the ceiling.
Dude.
And like that whole back and forth with MJ and Ned, hilarious.
he's like, this is enough. This is enough. And they're like, it's not enough. It's fucking cracking up.
It's so wild to think of that after like the fucking like gut punch of the scene before it. Of like watching May die and Peter get shot and Happy gets arrested. And then it's just like, let's have some fun on the ceiling.
It literally makes you forget that all that heavy stuff happened. So it sets you up. That's what I mean. Like, it's crafted so well.
Yeah. They set the emotional roller coaster like so fucking perfectly in this.
The lowest of lows
So perfectly.
to the highest of highs. Seeing like all those villains back, and like even getting like the Lizard and Sandman back as like ancillary villains a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm curious if there's like deleted scenes or like more to stuff that they had planned for them, and they were like, all right, due to time or budgets or we couldn't bring them back, we gotta cut it.
Did you notice they like recycled footage from like old Spider-Man movies for them? It was
I
so
thought
weird.
I noticed that.
Yeah, like the Sandman when he turns back, and then when the Lizard turns back too. And it's got that awkward shot of just like both Tom and Toby doing like the same thing, like, you're cured, like talking to someone off screen you can't see because they're not there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was just a budget thing because they spent all the money on the people they couldn't CGI in.
It's probably a COVID thing.
That's probably true. You're right.
Because I'm noticing, especially in just like in a lot of new stuff, there's a lot of reverse shot instead of over the shoulder. And I think it's because people literally aren't fucking there.
That does make more sense. You're right. I didn't even think about that.
each of them had more things to do, but you know, once you start getting into runtime, you're like, but which characters do we need to talk to? You know what I mean?
And I feel like they really did a great job juggling all the villains, considering every Spider-Man movie, anytime that it was ever given multiple villains, it kind of like fumbled.
Yeah.
So
and they knew that Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina were going to be their powerhouses. So like they were obviously going to always get the most weight. So
and then Jamie Foxx even like getting like not the same level as Dafoe, but like getting relatively that same amount of screen time.
I think that might have been Jamie Foxx also lobbying for it.
Maybe,
lobbying for additional, because he's like, no, we got to fix this, you guys. Like,
it was good to give that character like closure too, though. Especially with Andrew, and like they had a very funny moment of like, man, I just thought you were gonna be black.
That was great.
And he says, I'm sorry.
that was fucking funny, because that's like, I feel like that's like a realistic disappointment in revealing who Spider-Man is for certain people. You know what I mean?
Well,
like when they see that he doesn't look like you're like, ah, damn, dude, I was really hoping that he was kind of like me, because he's awesome.
Yeah. That was half the motivation in like when Bendis was making Miles, though. It was like
representation.
Like if you were writing Spider-Man, if Spider-Man was like thought up today, it wouldn't be some white kid.
No. It was like, it just felt like a moment where they were like, Miles can exist in this, and we're almost promising that that's a thing.
I mean, they basically did promise that in Homecoming.
Yeah.
So Miles exists.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want him.
You're just like, you're like waiting. You're like, is this going to be it? Because I went into that thinking this too. Like, okay, is Miles going to show up? Are we going to get like Donald Glover as Prowler? And something like anything.
Could have been anything, dude.
My expectations for this movie weren't high going in. I was nervous I wasn't going to like it, but completely blew my expectations away. Couldn't be happier with what we got. I cannot wait to own this movie on Blu-ray and watch it again and again, because we talked in our last episode about comfort films, and this one's definitely going to be one for me.
I think it's definitely worth seeing multiple times. I think that the fact that it did the box office that it did amid the pandemic and the additional variants thereof and whatnot, people just were like, fuck it, I'm going to see this goddamn Spider-Man movie. Which, you know, just like really seals the character for me as like, he really does bring people together, you know.
Even when they maybe shouldn't be together.
For better or worse, Spider-Man is a uniter, you know. But no, I think it's a great fucking movie that pays so much respect to the things that came before it, the things that everybody will sit in comment sections and argue about which one is better, and this one was like, fuck all of that, they were all good. That's basically what this said. Like they were all equally good and valid, and this one brings them all together and puts a nice little bow on what we've gotten previously. And I mean, the reports is that they've got a fourth one in the pipeline. Tom Holland definitely has said that he wants to take some fucking time off. I think it might be well deserved for him if he decides to take a couple of years, but really I hope he doesn't wait too long, because we need more of these like right away.
I loved the first two MCU Spider-Man movies, and I think my expectations were like a little weird going into this, just because I was afraid it looked kind of goofy what they were trying to do, and it ended up being pretty goofy, but it was really fun. And every time I kind of like doubt Marvel, they come and slap me in the face. So yeah, it was a ton of fun. I think, just like Yazzie said, they paid respect to all the past Spider-Men while like really amplifying Tom Holland's Spider-Man and like giving him like the pat on the back, like, go ahead, kid. Yeah. You're going to be the first one to get a fourth. I definitely had like my qualms with it, like I already brought up. I think that like final fight was a little dizzying, and I would have liked to see more of them like working together and fighting instead of just like the motion blur of them flying around in the dark.
It was very dark. Yeah.
The darkness decision was a decision.
Yeah.
It was a Marvel decision.
Yeah.
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 As far as the new suit, I'm a little worried because it looked kind of like video gamey, and I was really happy with like the black and red suit that I thought they had finally solved that like video gamey looking suit problem of it actually looking real, and then they gave him like that shiny blue shit, but we haven't seen it standing still, so, and I'm sure it'll be polished up a lot more when we see it again next.
Yeah.
That character's
I'm
always
so
MCU
so
Peter's always
excited.
looked video gamey to me. So like
Yeah.
it's
But I
still
just felt
like whatever.
that suit at the end of Far From Home really did feel like they had solved that issue, and then they took it away.
I do love the red and black suit a lot.
It looks
But I'm
nice.
excited as fuck to see this one.
His pajamas.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Hopefully
think-
they let it look like more real and they stop painting over it.
I hope
Yeah.
so, yeah. Yeah, like Jordan said at the beginning of this was kind of like, you didn't realize until now, but it was like a 3-movie origin story. That with this in mind, it'll be very interesting to go back and like revisit all of Tom's appearances and think about like where the character is now. And I am very excited to see like Peter now as an adult. And we're gonna like everything that I think you guys have like complained about in the past. Like Yezi always wanted to just like, I'm fucking sick of high school. I just want to see adult Peter. You're gonna get adult Peter.
I'm excited.
Jordan's
for
gonna
that.
get miserable Peter, suffering with every waking
Yes!
fucking moment.
One of us.
and I'm just gonna
one
get
of
more
us. One of us.
I'm still holding out hope that we'll get Death of Spider-Man, which like to that point, I would love to see the MCU Norman come around. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I think I'm most excited to see the cast of characters expand and see what like.
Yeah.
I do want to see what happens with Ned and MJ, but I want to see Peter make more relationships and not be alone for a whole movie.
Yeah.
So,
Although, like him being alone for a whole movie would be fucking pretty interesting.
would it?
Yeah, like not having those people to rely on and really having to just kind of fight his own battles, which is like I think the thing that Jordan gets really upset about with MCU Spider-Man. Like if he spent a whole movie, if Spider-Man 4 is him in New York having to fight his ass off, I think we'll be like, holy fucking shit, that's the best Spider-Man movie that's ever existed.
Yeah, I don't mind Spider-Man fighting on his own, but I don't like seeing Peter on his own. I like seeing Peter's interpersonal relationships. I like seeing that like stress that like Spider-Man puts on his personal relationships.
And just to add to that, like the fact that Spider-Man is like alone and fighting his ass off, but then contrast that to Peter being on his own, work at a job with the everyday stresses of what happened with Spider-Man, but now he's got to like go to work and like do normal things while putting on this brave face and this act of Peter Parker, everything's fine, whatever. But really, he's miserable.
Yeah.
He's broken. And I just think that's more interesting to me than what we've gotten so far. And I'm so excited for the future. I'm so excited to get Scorpion, maybe, eventually. Maybe JJ buys him that suit. Spider-Man versus Scorpion at the Daily Bugle.
I would like to see him like interacting more with like some of the like lower level people, like maybe some of the, like we said, the Disney Plus people, maybe the Young Avengers, because I think he fits in with like the others that they've already introduced. It is interesting. I just remembered that John Watts is going to direct Fantastic Four, so I would really like to see the Peter and Johnny friendship on screen. So yeah, I don't. Maybe we'll get Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the Fantastic Bagman.
Fantastic Bagman, maybe. Who knows?
That's definitely something I'm interested in, but could we please just give him his own movie?
No.
Just one.
For one?
No.
Yeah.
Just that's it. I just want a Spider-Man movie to be a Spider-Man movie.
No, I think for the future for me is all about what Eddie Brock left on that bar in Mexico for Spider-Man. Like they've got to take that for, like, if Sony's put that on the table for them, they have to take it before it goes away.
If it's on the table, it's already been taken. Like, they have a plan for it.
Oh my God, dude, I'm so fucking excited for the prospect of a legitimate MCU Venom.
But overall, I loved this movie. I think you guys did too.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say we all loved it. But now is when we ask you guys what you thought. So we want to hear from you. Let us know what you thought about Spider-Man No Way Home. Tell us if you liked it, if you hated it, who's your favorite Spider-Man. Let us know on social media. You could follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Pop Kannon. We also have a Facebook group. As Robert mentioned before, we run polls like, who's your favorite Spider-Man? The Pop Kannon Collective. You can find us, look it up, join the group.
And you can subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever the Android one is, Castbox, like Radio Public. There's like a whole bunch of them that they put our shit on. Anchor even. So it's cool. You could follow us on whichever one of those you prefer. And you could rate. You could put ratings down. Spotify just added podcast rankings too. So give us some love on that shit. And YouTube, you could watch our beautiful, stunning faces discuss all of your favorite, or probably not so favorite, depending on who the fuck you are, I guess, movies and TV shows that we do these like every 2 weeks-ish.
If you're interested in our other opinions on these and many other things, you can follow us on our other individual social channels. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Joe for Broke.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Yesball.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JL24FPS. So thank you very much for watching and or listening. We will see you on the very next episode. This was our last one of 2021, guys. Woo. 2022 is going to be huge, though.
Dude.
Huge year for movies, huge year for TV.
Huge years for Pop Kannon.
Huge year for Pop Kannon.
Can't wait.
Going to the top.
So for Pop Kannon, my name is Jordan.
I'm Robert.
I'm Joe.
This has been episode 69.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Neat.
Thanks for watching.
What's that mean?
It's a sex thing, Joe.
A what?